Thank you for being here and talking about this because you're right. If you question this at all, you get labeled really quickly, correct?
You do, immediately as transphobic.
Why do you think that is?
I think that a lot of the transgender community, they push so much for acceptance that when you immediately, or anytime you start to question them, even if it's out of the kind of goodness of your heart to try and make sure that they're making the right decision, anything that goes against their narrative is just immediately labeled as transphobic.
After you started to transition, how else did you begin to change your life to live as a man?
I had changed my name. I started wearing a binder. I even moved cities because at the time I was very hesitant to actually come out to coworkers. So I moved about 4 hours away, got a completely different job, and introduced myself as a trans man.
Okay. And what happened when you began to schedule time to get a double mastectomy?
I haven't had any top surgeries, but I did get approved for it.
And that's what it is. You got approved for it.
I did. I got approved. And how that worked, it was scarily easy to do because I had just called a therapist and I had scheduled one appointment for a 30-minute session to talk about it. And I essentially walked in. I said, I identify as transgender and I want to get top surgery. And we chatted for a bit, maybe for half an hour. And at the end of the session, she wrote me an approval letter to send to my insurance. And then I got approved just like that.
Trapped, not being able to get access to the care that you wanted, the transition that you wanted to do, you're saying you don't know that you would have been able to carry that burden to 18.
I know for a fact that I definitely would not have been able to make it to where I am now without the medical professional help that I was given at the age I was. I wouldn't be here.
What is it about it that would have been more than you could endure?
It was just being stuck in a body that wasn't mine for too long. I could not handle that. I was so young and it needed to happen when it happened. And I was a swimmer and putting on a swimsuit and being in the wrong body, I could not handle that. And I ended up.
What do you mean you was in the wrong body? You didn't change bodies. Your body is still the same. You get what I'm saying? What did you do? You didn't do nothing but maybe you didn't do nothing. Maybe cut your breast off or something like that. Grow facial hair and something, but your body is still the same. You still probably got a vagina. You still got a vagina, so nothing changed. But let's continue.
Quitting the swim team, and I had to transition to live my life. I couldn't go outside anymore. I couldn't live. I couldn't breathe in this body that was not mine.
It just felt alien to you.
Yeah, completely.
Now, how were you certain that is what it was versus something else?
I always knew. I went to bed at 5 years old. I want to be a boy. Wake me up tomorrow as a boy. It was always boy toys, boy McDonald's meals, boy everything. I was a boy, just not on the outside.
Okay.
I always knew.
What was the first thing that you were allowed to do?
Cut my hair, change my name, pronouns, that's it. That's all.
And how did that affect you?
Happiest day of my life. I got my hair cut and I still have that hair in a plastic bag in my room.
You saved it?
Yeah, I saved it. My mom did. She was like, I'm saving this. And it was the best feeling ever.
All right. And you ultimately had surgery?
Yeah, I had a double mastectomy just last year in November.
Okay. And why did you wait several years to do that?
I had a very small chest, so it was easy to be able to push it aside, wear my binder for a little bit longer, wait till I'm older.
Okay. And did you feel the need to wait? Did you think, this I could change? I could feel differently? What?
I didn't want to wait. I was eligible at 15. I went to get it at 15, and I just was too young to go through with it at that age for myself personally, but someone who has a bigger chest, who's also that age, wouldn't definitely need it if they felt like they did, and I think they should be able to get it.
You say denying it for others is transgenocide.
Yes.
Is that because you say it would have been death to you if you hadn't had the opportunity?
Death to me and many other trans kids.
Is there a certain procedure that once you do that, you can't undo that?
Of course, when you start the hormones, if you're male to female, you begin developing breasts. And of course, it changes everything about your appearance. So after about a year, you're going to see some major changes. And the same goes for female to male. So yeah, you hit the point of no return. So then like once those changes happen, then the transition.
Hey, if you wonder why I do videos on this topic right here, because this right here is the game changer. This topic is greater than crime, greater than the deficit, greater than who our president in. If we cannot get an understanding on this topic right here, we're gonna fall to the wayside. You get me? We really need to come to some type of understanding. Now, bypass them because they this one right, Carol, I ain't talking about nothing. You just talking points. So we moved to the I don't really care about what Megan Rapping the whole chick talking about, but let's look at her too. Here we go.
So I love having you here. So thanks for coming back.
God, thanks for having me.
So tell me about your transition process. Looking back now, did you think you were ready to go through so many medical procedures so young? As you look back, did you do it the right way at the right time? Would you recommend other people do what you did when you did it?
If people are certain about who they are, then we have an obligation to support them. I've worked with thousands of trans youth over the years, and many stories are very similar to my own. I personally came out when I was 8 and went on hormones when I was 15, had surgery when I was 17, and have no regrets.
When you say you came out at 8 or came out at 10 and stuff like that, that really tells me what type of parents you had. You didn't have parents that get you ready for the world. You had parents that let you create your own world. So you're living in a bubble right now. You get what I'm saying? And now you come out here and you expect us not to pop that bubble. You get me? These people suffer from a lack of true parenting. I don't want to hear this person's story. This is the one I want to talk. I wanted to talk about this person right here. It's who is this person? Because she really got everybody mad. She got everybody mad. What? Let me see.
Doctor, so why do you think young people are being incorrectly diagnosed with gender dysphoria? And should those who are wait to get transitions?
Absolutely. There should be a longer period of time, and most importantly, there needs to be a proper assessment done. I really take issue with this narrative that children, quote unquote, know their true selves, or they know their gender identity if they believe that they're transgender, or that detransition is purely due to social stigma or due to transphobia. If you actually talk to detransitioners, as I have, you'll hear the reasons as to why they have chosen to detransition, why they have regret about their decisions, in many cases having undergone medicalization. There's so many other issues that these young people are struggling with, whether it is being on the autism spectrum. They have, many of them, if not all I've spoken to, have a history of sexual trauma. They are not comfortable with their sexuality if they are gay. They may have anxiety, depression, and in some cases, as in Ryan's case, if it's a young woman who reaches puberty, is not comfortable in her body, she thinks that because she doesn't like being sexualized by society, that means that she's actually a man, or she's so-called non-binary, even though there are only two genders. Even for young women who don't like having a period, they believe that means that they're actually a man. And I question, do children actually have the capacity to make lifelong permanent decisions about their bodies, and do they really understand what these interventions involve? I don't think they do. And I think we're doing a real disservice to young people, especially with this ideology. We see it coming into education. We see it being glorified in society, with the fact that legitimate experts cannot speak about the science, that legitimate studies cannot be done. Actual science that is correct is being suppressed, is being denied, is being called hateful. And so people are understandably terrified to talk about this. And if you are in the field, whether you're an academic, my reason for leaving academia is because I wasn't willing to stay quiet about this issue. If you do work within, say, academia, if you're a scientist, you cannot produce any research that goes against activist narratives, or they will completely destroy you.
And what do you say to the parents of a child like Reese, who says, look, at 5 years old, he knew at the core of his soul who he was, and that it was not who he had been assigned at birth? what do you say to someone like that is truly suffering, and goes through the steps in a cautionary fashion?
I think that intervention should be on a one-on-one case. So about the individual patient, it shouldn't be about activism. It shouldn't be about sweeping policy in either direction. But I feel right now, parents especially, they're being emotionally blackmailed with this narrative that unless their child transitions, that child is at a high rate of suicide, which is not true. The other thing is this social transition is being sold as it's being sold by activists as being completely harmless. So this consists of a child changing their haircut, changing maybe their name and their pronouns, and dressing like the opposite sex. And this is seen as just a way for them to explore. But the thing is, from a research perspective, social transition, even though it doesn't involve medical transition, is associated with going on to medical intervention, and from there going on including cross-sex hormones and surgery. So in a way, it sets a child down this path because it makes it more difficult for the child to say, oh, I made a mistake. It's also very shameful for a child to have to say, I've been making everyone in my life call me this new name, use these new pronouns, and I was actually wrong about that. Children also receive so much attention and praise nowadays for identifying as anything other than their birth sex. And we see this with young people.
You see their faces? Their faces are faces of those who did not grow up. They're not listening. You can't talk to these people. There is no point of talking to them. They're spoiled ass people. You get me? Look at that face. Look at the face. That cheesy ass polite smile. That you couldn't go any society with this person. You can't build a society with this person because this person is not a true person. This person lives in a bubble. A bubble. You get me? A bubble. You get me? We live in a world where individuals create bubbles. You get me? That they live in. The fucked up thing is, instead of being distanced from society, they want society to get inside of their bubble. Fuck that bubble. You get what I'm saying? These people are lunatics. And the only thing that's going to change their minds is the bad outcome that will befall them. Anyway.